Hi, today we are going to see what is Dataweave Selectors. So Dataweave Selectors is mainly if you wanted to traverse the structure of object and arrays and return the matching values. For example, you have a payload, it could be object or it could be array, but you wanted to traverse. Traverse means you wanted to access some of the fields in that object or in some of the fields in that particular array and you wanted to return the matching value. So that's the place we are going to use the selectors. So when you say selector, there are few selector type. For example, you wanted to access specific key, okay, so then it is a single value, and you wanted to access asterisk key name, which will give a list of multi values, okay, list of values. Similarly, there is something called descendant, so you can access the key name with dot dot key name, which will give a array of values of any matching descendant value, so it will give the result in an array. And similarly, how to access the data by accessing via index and also range, and also how to access the attributes from the XML and how to access the namespace from the XML. So that and all we are going to see today. So I'll quickly go into the demo. I'll create a new project, Mule project. I'll say it's Datawave demo 9 is my project name. I'll click finish. So in this one, what I'm going to do is I'll just add a transform message and I'll just minimize this page because we are going to mainly work on this Datawave editor. Okay, so as of now it's Java. I'll change it to JSON and I'll just click a preview so that you can see the output of this Datawave coding. As of now, this output is empty, so that's why empty is coming. For now, I'm going to just declare some variable called payload and I'm going to set some payload. Okay, so I'm just going to say name is my key and I'll say value is techlightning. Okay, so this is my object. So if you whatever it's starting with curly braces and ending with curly braces, it's object. So now instead of empty, I'll just try to print this payload and you'll be able to see the payload at the right side. For example, if you wanted to access the name, okay, so you'll be able to see the value of the name, right? So name is a key and value is techlightning. So if you access a name value, then you will get a value of name, so which is a single selector type. For example, if you go to the documentation, how will you access the single value? You have to put payload dot key name. So key name nothing but here the key name is name. So you are able to access the single selector type, right? And if you wanted to access multiple value, then you need a different payload, which could be some array. If you have, then you will be able to access through multi-value syntax. You will be able to access the multi-value thing. Okay, so now what I'll do is so this one also it will give a result in array and this also it will give a result in array. So we are going to see what is the difference. So in order to take that, I'll just take some sample XML from online. So I'll just go to Google and then I'll just say sample XML online and go to this W3 Schools website where we have XML samples. So in that I'll just try to take some sample from this XML namespace. Okay, so I'm just went to the XML namespace. I'm going to take a sample which is there under this heading. Okay, XML namespace, the XML attribute. Okay, so I'm going to take this sample. I'll just copy the sample. Now what I'm going to do is instead of payload, right, this payload sample, I'm going to use that particular sample. Okay, so instead of referring that in my code, I'll just put it in this resources folder and this is my example, right? So I'll just create a folder called examples, and then inside that I'll just create my sample file. Okay, so I'll just put new file, right? In the file I'll just name it as ns sample. Okay, so that is my sample file name and it's XML. I'll just give it as XML and I'll click finish. So now the file got opened where I'll copy the sample XML which I copied from the W3 Schools website and under this XML namespace in the left side and this particular heading I just copied this XML and I just pasted in this one. Okay, so now we have a sample available inside our project which we are going to refer it. Okay, so now what I'm doing is instead of giving this where payload, right, and direct value, I'm going to refer that one from the example. So how do we read it from the example? So you have to use this read URL and you have to give class path :/ example / and ns sample.xml. So that's a file name and this file is having a content type is XML, so you have to give it like application/XML. So now we are referring this payload from this particular path, and now I'll just print this payload and I'll show you the preview also. So I'll just minimize this one, and also I don't need this one, so I can minimize or I can hide it. So now I need mainly this editor and also the preview window. So if you see the preview window, so what has happened is it took the XML from there, the path where we have copied, and it's converted this to JSON, because I am giving that as a JSON. If you give XML, then you'll get XML content. So you're getting the XML content, right? Now I wanted to have it in a JSON, so I'll just give it in a JSON. So my output is in a JSON format. So now, so far in the previous example where I gave name equal to techlightning, right, where we have used a single selector. So when I say single selector, so how did we refer the key name? I referred payload.name, which was resulting techlightning. So now we are going to see how this multi-value is working. Okay, so now what we are doing is the selector is helping to traverse the structure of object or array. So if you have an object as example or array as example, then the selector will help you to traverse the particular information. You are going to go through that each node, and then you are going to traverse and then take the relevant information. So now this is object, right? And again, if you see this multi-value, when you access this information, it will give a result in an array of the values of any matching keys. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is this table, right? So this is table. Okay, so let's try to understand this structure. It's having a root, and inside root you have a table. Inside the table you have a tr, which we called as table row, and then which is a row, and then you have a column where you have two fields, apple and bananas, and similarly you have one more table where you have three fields, name, width and length for one furniture. Okay, it's saying African coffee table 80 and 120 centimeters. So this is a furniture information. So this is kind of some fruit information is there. Now if we need to access any specific key name, right? So I wanted to retrieve multiple value. For example, this table is a multiple thing, right? So what I'll do, dot asterisk table. Okay, so in order to access that, right, what you have to give? You have to give double dot. Okay, I'll remove this asterisk table. So now what is happening is, the first table we had a fruits, right? The second table we had a furniture related information that is coming. So I'll remove this one so that you will be able to see entire payload. So this is the entire payload where you have a two table, and if you wanted to take only extract the data for the table, then you have to put dot dot. When you say dot dot, right, it is a descendants. Okay, so what descendant will do? Dot dot and key name. So when you give that, right, when you normally you expand this dot dot for descendant, it is giving our initial object, correct? And then it tries to expand this table. Table is having this information, right? TRTD, right? So that is it's giving. And then inside TR you have TD alone, right? So that TD it's giving in the next one. And inside TD you have apple and banana, which is coming here. Okay, it is expanding all the information available in each object, right? So the table has a first object which expanded this one and also this apple and banana. Similarly, you have another object table for the furniture information, and it's trying to take that value and take that value. Okay, so it's trying to take all the child element for the entire array. Okay, entire sample, right? It's taking all the fields, it's trying to expand it. Now what I need is I want only this table. Okay, so I'll just do, if I give only table, right, what will happen? Even though you have two tables, one is having a fruits information and other is having a furniture information, it will take only the first table. So now if I give asterisk table, it will take all the table information. So which is the first table is apple and banana, the second table which is having a furniture information is trying to take, and also if you see this is giving in an array. So you have an array where you have two objects. So whatever it's starting with this square bracket, it's array, and inside that you can have n number of elements. So here we have two objects. So if you read this one now, descendant, if you access dot dot key name, so I access a dot dot and asterisk key name I access because I wanted to extract all the element which are matching this table. Okay, and also it will result in an array only. For example, if you see this one, array of values of any matching descendant key. So I am trying to find a matching for all the tables, so it is trying to give this result in an array. Similarly, if you wanted to match only the first row, then you can give without asterisk. Asterisk basically will give all the matching criteria for that particular key name, and it will result with the array. So if I give, even though if I give only one element without asterisk, it will give array, because if you see this one, right, only with key name or dot key name, right, so I have given this one, now it gives array of element, right. And if similarly if you give asterisk, that is also, it will give a multiple array. Okay, so it is matching multiple array, multiple information, multiple tables are matching, so that result it is extracting it, and then that is, it is giving in a array format. Okay, so now what we have seen totally, and also if you wanted to access specific value, right, so these are two records, two table information. Now I wanted to access tr. Okay, so if you access tr, then it will give only the tr related information. So for finally I wanted to access td, then it will give only the td related values. So I'll remove this, and if you table, it will have table. So inside the table I have a name also. For example, I wanted to access name, then it will give a name. Okay, so this is how you can access the, traverse the object or array, and you can get the results. And if you, even though you extract one value, right, still it will give an array, because if you see this one, it will result a value in an array of values of any matching descendant keys. Similarly, this is also array of values for any matching keys. Okay, so now I'll remove this. Okay, so for safer side, I'll just put this one. I just commented it. I'll just copy this one, so that we know what are the things we are trying to execute it. Okay, so if you see this one, this table, it is resulting array. Okay, so now this is the array. So now I have two records. Okay, this is one array. Inside the array you have one object, and then second object starting with comma, and then you have second object. So now I wanted to access this object alone. So what I can do is, I can say first element. Okay, so now it will give a second object in that array, because in the array we have to refer the element as 0th element and first element. So if I don't give this value, both elements in that array is appearing. If I give 0th record, then it will come, and if I give first record, it will come. So if I show 0 here, right, or if I specify 0 here, you will get that apple and banana thing, and if you specify 1 here, you will get the second array. Okay, in the element, in the array it will fetch the second element. Now we have seen this one, indexing. Okay, so value of any type of selected array index. So you have an array, and inside array you have many object or many element. If you wanted to access specific index, then you will be able to access through this index. For example, this sample we had only two elements in the array, right? If you have multiple elements, then you have to give a specific index and you have to access it. And then next one is range. Okay, so you can specify what is your from index, what is your starting index, ending index. For example, I have two records, correct? Asterisk table, if I give, I have two records. So if I wanted to access both the record, you can give 0 to 1 also. So then it will result both the things. Okay, so I think it is, I'll just check the space, 0 and this is 2. Okay, so if we give 0 to 1, then it will result 0th also, 1 also. For example, in your sample you have 5 elements, then you have to give 0 to 4. Okay, but in our side we have only 0 to 1 only. We have 2 elements in the array. Okay, I'll just comment this also, and we will try something else now. Okay, so now I have again the all the information in the table. So we have seen index, we have seen array, we have how to extract the single value, multiple value in the descendant, and also in the descendant we have seen different things. Now we will see how to access the attribute. Okay, so I'll say what is attribute first, and if you go to the sample, right, so this sample, it's not having any attributes, but it's having a namespace. If you see this one namespace, if you wanted to extract this value, right, in this first table you have something called XML and you have something called W3 org HTML4. The second XML namespace, you have some URL ending with furniture. So now if I wanted to take this XML NS, right, then what we need to do is, in order to take the namespace, right, I'll just go to the preview also. I'll just minimize this one. Okay, so that our editor will be big. So we have two things, right, and inside the table, right, inside the table only, if you see the sample, inside the table you have this XML namespace. So if you need to take the XML namespace, right, you have to give dot, I'll just show you the preview also in parallelly. Okay, so here, right, we have two arrays, and each one has a namespace as well. Okay, so if you wanted to take 0th record and you put a dot, okay, so when you say 0th record, only 0th record will come, and then you wanted to access the namespace, right, and you have to give dot outside, and then you have to give hash. So if we see give hash, right, so this is the XML namespace for the first record or first element in the array. And if I need the second element, right, which will be first, and there you have a furniture as a XML namespace. Okay, so now earlier we have seen how to extract the field, right. For example, I'll just hide this one, and I'll just go to payload dot asterisk table, and if I wanted to specific field, right, then if I give width, then the width value is 80. Okay, so this is coming, this is for specific field, and if I wanted to specifically check for a namespace, then it is a hash. And we have seen how to extract the specific element from the array, and also how to take the different elements from the array using the range. So now what I'll do, in the sample, right, in this sample we do not have any attributes. So normally attributes, right, it will come like this. Okay, for example, name is having some attribute. Okay, so I can add any category. Okay, I'll just add category, and here it's American coffee table, right. So here I can say category is my this is type 1. Okay, so this value if I wanted to extract, okay, so this is a sample. Inside the sample, this name field has a category, and this category is nothing but it's called attribute in XML, and value of that category is type 1. Now I wanted to extract this category value. Okay, so then how do I extract it, right? If I wanted to extract this African coffee table, then I can give name. Okay, if I go to the Dataweave demo, right, I'll just go here, and in my sample, right, I'll just go to the preview also. So I'll just minimize this, command this one, and I'll just say payload, I'll print it. Okay, so payload it's coming, right. So here in this name only I have given the category, right. So for example, if I wanted to access this name, what I'll do, I can give dot dot, and then I can give name, then it will give name. Okay, so now what I want is in this name only I have a category, correct. So if I give @ simple, right, @ simple, okay, again this also, right, this also if you see here table, and inside the table we have a name with, and this is nothing but the second element in the array, right. This is the 0th element and first element, so this one only have a category. So this is the first element in the array, so you have to specify the first element, and then dot, and you have to specify @. So @ is for your, okay, so here again it's not the, we have to specify name, right, name African coffee table. So name is the field name, and then you just give @ here, then you will be able to see the value of category. So if we go to the sample again, table, this is the first object in our array, this is the second object in our array. So this is the table of 1, and inside that name, and then we have a category. So name is the field, right. So how we are accessing this category, table of 1 and name dot @. So @ is to access the attribute, @ is to access the attribute, hash is to access the namespace, and this is to access the attribute. So for example, if you wanted to access the attribute related value, for example category equal to type 1, right. So if you wanted to access that value, then you have to give it like this syntax. So now if you go to the documentation, we have seen this XML attribute, how to access the XML attributes we have seen now. Similarly, we have also seen how to access the namespace using hash. So today what we have seen, so how to access the single value we saw. So for example, single value, this is a single value example, right. So you wanted to extract the name field, then you can extract it like this, and then you wanted to extract the multiple keys. So then if you wanted to give only the table related thing, then it will list all the table related thing, and dot dot key name. So you can extract any structure, you can go inside your sample, or payload where you can extract any information with the dot dot, because when you give dot dot it expand all the object, and inside that whatever the field level it expand it and we'll be able to traverse that information. That is descendant. Okay, similarly what else we have seen, and we have seen index to take the particular element from the array, and we have seen array range. So for example, you have an array which is having 5 records. Okay, for example, you wanted to fetch only the second and third record, then you will give a array of 1 to 2. Similarly, you can give any range to take the specific element from the array. XML attribute. So in order to fetch the attribute, you have to go to that element and you have to put a dot and then at the rate you will be able to take the attribute. So this is the syntax, right? So similarly, if you want namespace related details, so then you have to give a key name. This is the key for us, and then you have a hash. Similarly, here also key at the rate is for attribute and hash for namespace. Yeah, so we have seen most of the things in Dataweave selectors today. So mainly these two things, right? Multi-value or descendant, it will give a array of values. Okay, it will give a result in an array. So that's the main thing. So if you see here, when I access attribute, it's giving an object, right? Because if you see the at the rate thing, single value of selected attribute, right? So it's giving a value, it's giving the, because it's a single value and then it's giving a result. For example, if you are giving other things like ascendant or the descendant, right? Then it will give it an array. For example, this dot dot is a descendant, right? And I'll just command this one, and this is the descendant, and when you give this one, it will give in an array format. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for watching this video so far. If you like the video, please share it with your friends and also subscribe to this Tech Lightning channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.